Attention all pilots. Our capital city, Gracemeria, is under attack by unknown aircraft. Damage from the attacks is widespread throughout the city. All planes scramble and intercept all threats immediately. A large-scale formation of Estevakian bombers is heading toward Vitoze, a city here on the island of Kesed. The enemy is plotting to storm Campania Airport, where our military is stationed, to stamp us out and put an end to this thing. Enemy bombers are approaching Vitoze from the north. Our advance team estimates they'll be above the city in about 15 minutes. Air units are to cooperate with our radar facilities and resume operations. An enemy takeover of Vitoze would mean the ultimate destruction of our country, Ameria, and of our Amerian people. Intercept them at once. You've been ordered to start the mission now. The interception op was a success. Enemy air units around Kesed have been weakened. And the Republic of Ameria's military has taken full advantage of this prime opportunity to initiate a counterattack operation with all forces participating. Enemy forces have established a wide-scale defensive line around Sipli Field, consisting largely of tank battalions. Our ground forces are set up to cross the river and penetrate it, and eventually regain control of Kesed. Garuda team, we need you to support our advancing ground units and eliminate all enemy forces. Multiple units will be simultaneously carrying out various operations on the ground. Pay attention to the airspace above each operation area and provide support as needed. This must be the first time you've ever participated in a mission of this scale. The battle simulator is a good way to get some practical experience under your belt. Godspeed. The final remnant of Estevakian forces on this island is concentrated on Mount Marcello in northern Kesed. The enemy is mainly distributed throughout this mountainous area, with Bartolomeo Fortress as its center of operations, providing a variety of high-level defensive measures and offensive might. This fortress also boasts strong anti-air capabilities. Our ground unit in this mission is to split into two groups, to the east and west, along with an air unit mainly providing ESN, which gives us 3 units in total. Garuda team, we need you to cover each of these units in whichever order you feel is necessary. The situation will change depending on which turn a particular battle takes. You'll need to keep close tabs on the combat situation of each unit to successfully complete this mission. Our forces on the mainland are scattered and desperate, doing all they can to protect our nation. We need you to help guarantee their success on this mission. And success on this mission is measured by how much support you can provide them with. I'm about to go over the mission contents. Finally, the day is near. We have organized enough troops and intelligence to retake the mainland. Soon the Amerian military will initiate an operation designed to take back the Amerian mainland. Our forces on the mainland are growing more exhausted as each day passes. If we don't act soon, they will be wiped out completely. Our bridgehead for disembarking troops on the mainland will be established at Ragno Beach on the western tip of Anea. We're sending in units by air and sea. This is going to be a large-scale mission, so do all you can to see it through to the end. This mission will be divided into multiple units, 2 hovercraft units bringing our landing units to shore, and a fleet of ships to attack the enemy from out at sea. Our hovercraft unit needs support in order to bring in the landing unit safely and for taking over points on the ground. Our fleet needs support in order to thoroughly defeat enemy forces close to the sea or in the vicinity of oil fields. It would be to our advantage if you could rush to various attack points and take them out before our units have to deal with them. Swift and accurate execution is extremely important in this mission in order to gain a secure foothold. Don't hold back. Show us what you're made of out there. We've got a large unit of troops on Rollins Plain, around the outskirts of Silvat town. Those troops are isolated with no means of retreat, surrounded by enemies, and on the verge of total annihilation. With our substation as a focal point, the enemy is positioned a full 360 degrees around the troops, with intense attacks pounding away at our line of defense. If we could somehow manage to join up with our besieged forces there, we could considerably strengthen their position. This is where you come in. We need you to free up our surrounded unit and eliminate all Estavakian forces throughout the Rollins Plain. Every minute counts in this operation, so get out there and get things done. Our forces have expanded. Estavakia's military forces in Anea will gradually start to diminish each time they suffer a loss in various areas. According to intelligence from our Department of National Safety, there's a section where enemy defenses are low, near Selumna Peaks in central Anea. That section of land is an ideal route for our troops to take, in terms of topography and weather as well. We're going to use this route. It's a steep mountain path covered in snow, which is extremely difficult for our ground unit to advance through. It also renders it vulnerable to air attacks. Make sure to cover our ground unit, and if you spot any threats from the sky, eliminate them. If an emergency happens to occur, deal with it in any way you see fit. Once we get past those mountains, we'll be in the center of Anea. Then I'll give you the lowdown on our mission. Small unmanned aerial vehicles, cruise missiles, and heavy command cruisers are all closely related in terms of functionality and have been uncovered as the enemy's secret weapons by our analysis results. We have collected missile and small unmanned aerial vehicle samples, as well as radar records, analyzed them, and came up with the following. First of all, the small unmanned aerial vehicles are operated from long distance and approach their intended targets to destroy them. In step 2, a special electronic signal inside of each small unmanned aerial vehicle is sent to a cruise missile for guidance. And for the final step, the cruise missile that was guided by a small unmanned aerial vehicle hits and destroys its attack target. That is how the enemy's cruise missile system operates. Small unmanned aerial vehicles and cruise missiles are both launched from the enemy's heavy command cruiser. Once launched, they are operated from the heavy command cruiser via remote control. Our Joint Chiefs of Staff have drawn up a plan to destroy the enemy's missile system based on these analysis results. In order to conquer the heavy command cruiser, a constant barrage of attacks from the air is absolutely indispensable. First, we need to get a springboard to launch our plan of attack. We're about to head south to retake Cavalia Air Force Base in San Loma. Our objective is to retake Cavalia's air facilities, then establish a front line to destroy the enemy's missile system. Once the runway is secured, we should have a decent chance at taking out the enemy's heavy command cruiser. Enemy forces will be heavily deployed from land, air, and sea. We'll be doing all we can to deal with them, but I'm sure they'll be ready for us. Success or failure of this mission will very likely have a significant effect on the war. Put everything you've got into this one. This is an order of deployment. We've obtained a portion of classified intelligence concerning the enemy's heavy command cruiser from the Department of National Safety. The heavy command cruiser's official name has been identified as P-1112 Igaion. The team consists of a mid-size Kotos aircraft in charge of electronic warfare and a mid-size Gaijus aircraft in charge of close-range air defense. Igaion, a command craft, takes care of all cruise missile-related duties. After acquiring this intelligence, we were able to draw up an operation to destroy the Igaion. Listen closely. Fuel is added to the Igaion through an opening located in the front. Multiple tankers must make their way to the front of the Igaion for refueling purposes. Once the tankers are positioned in front of the craft to refuel it, the Igaion's radar signals are temporarily weakened. This is where it gets important. While the Igaion is being refueled, its radar is almost completely unable to detect any type of movement in front of the craft. If you can stay on course and maintain a certain altitude, you could approach the Igaion from the air without being noticed by enemy forces. So our best chance of taking that monster out is during its mid-air fuel-up. The Igaion's flight schedule is also included in this piece of intelligence. We'll go over the flight route after our meeting in the hangar. Get prepared at once. East of central Anea lies Ragno Fortress in Ragno Canyon. Our fortress there is still under Estevakian control. Substations for a giant dam and military tunnels line the area near the fortress. Those places act as an extra means of defense for an already high security area. Now that we've destroyed the enemy's heavy command cruiser, we're on our way east towards Gracemeria. But the only route for our heavy deployment of ground forces to travel on passes through Ragno Canyon, and Ragno Fortress is Estevakia's trump card for keeping us out of Gracemeria. If we can recapture that fortress, it's smooth sailing to Gracemeria from there. Eliminate the Estevakian unit there and recapture Ragno Fortress. The battle is tipping in our favor. All planes, let's get ready. I'll be relaying orders to you from now on. Estevakia's remaining forces are starting to gather near Moloch Desert in East Anea. They're combining all of their forces in an attempt to stop us from recapturing Gracemeria. This operation will involve a very intense siege battle. Once the enemy's line of defense is ruined, chase them down. If you let them escape, they're going to fortify their defenses around Gracemeria. I know you must be chomping at the bit to get going, but taking out the enemy here pretty much guarantees us victory. We'll make it back to Gracemeria alive. All of us. Engage. Garuda team, I've got some good news. The chemical agent used as a catalyst for their WMD is being transported to our shores from the Estevakian mainland. This catalyst has already been carried into the outskirts of Gracemeria. As a measure of caution against any attempts to destroy it, it has been concealed at Fort Norton in Gracemeria's north. If we start advancing again, the enemy will most likely bring the catalyst into Gracemeria at a faster pace. If in fact weapons of mass destruction are used on the population of Gracemeria, the resulting devastation can't be expressed in enough words. It will lead to unspeakable tragedies. We've used this intelligence to come up with a solid proposal on how to prevent this scorched earth policy from being executed in our capital. Just a minute ago, we received a letter of approval for our prevention plans from the Joint Chiefs of Staff. The proposal we put on the table for our scorched earth prevention policy is really quite simple. While the enemy transport unit is stationed at Fort Norton, we'll ambush them. We'd like to call it our tactic for preemptive victory. The enemy has loaded this catalyst into their transport vehicles and is able to send them into Gracemeria at any time. This plan will be carried out by a handful of our top pilots under absolute secrecy. Fly through Fort Norton's canyon at an extremely low altitude to avoid radar detection and take out those transport vehicles. We've determined that a high-risk mission of this magnitude could not be executed by anyone other than Garuda team. We're counting on a flawless execution here. At last, our day has come. Initiate Operation Free Gracemeria. All forces, advance into the capital. Enemy forces have thoroughly besieged Gracemeria. I'm sure we'll be running into some heavy resistance. This is the last battle. Let's win this thing and go home. Gracemeria is free, and citizens are back on the streets, enjoying the freedoms they've been denied for so long. Sorry to make this request after all you've done, but I'd like you two to patrol the outskirts of the capital. Although military threats have been dealt with, and we're in the process of a ceasefire agreement, this thing isn't quite over yet. Enjoy a view of the fireworks from above. It may not be enough to pay for your service, but it's the best seat in the house. After this mission, I want both of you to take 2 weeks off. Go home and relax with your families. I'll be relaying orders to you. We have received preliminary results from the tests regarding the recent missile attack. We've spotted a potential launch area for that second cruise missile shot at Gracemeria. It most likely came from a facility in the northern sea of Slovakia, somewhere in the vicinity of San Island. About 15 years ago, the Ulysses collision brought about a state of misery and fear unprecedented in modern history. Nations worldwide took their own measures on how to deal with the impending crisis posed by meteors if they were to hit the Earth. The Slovakians had developed a giant railgun for the purpose of intercepting those meteors. But for some reason, they stopped short of bringing it to fruition, and soon after, meteors had fallen on many nations, Slovakia among them. There is not much intelligence available concerning this giant railgun, and nothing of it has been made public since the prototype. Some from the American Ministry of Science and Technology were concerned about the potential dangers of the meteor interception system used as a weapon of war. As crisis loomed, the nations banded together and decided to prohibit any further development of the meteor interception system. Although the technology was being developed for peaceful purposes, the potential for evil was far too great a risk to take. Ameria cannot be at peace until the threat of cruise missiles has been completely eliminated. You've been assigned to investigate an area just north of San Island. Destroy any cruise missiles found and their facilities. If you happen to encounter any threatening objects, move into attack formation immediately. Blow the hell out of all targets. It's time to put an end to this tragic period in our history, which has emerged as a result of the Ulysses incident.